everyone, and welcome to a little video on your annotated bibliography drafts. I read through them all this morning, and I just wanted to give you some general feedback, like we did last time, by going through each of the grading highlights. So, the first grading highlight is a carefully conducted search. And for the most part, I'd say that you guys did this highlight most successfully. You had really good variety for the most part. Many of you reached out for help and we were able to find some information, but for the most part you guys were on topic and this was well done. The second issue was the sources are choices that meet the criteria outlined in the assignment and that provide research for Unit 3. So most of you nailed this just fine, but remember that the sources, there have to be at least 8 sources, and at least 6 of them must meet the criteria of being scholarly, which means that they're peer-reviewed. Okay, in the database screencast, there was an indication of how you can check this box off on peer-reviewed, but newspapers, magazines, consumer guidelines, websites, these are not peer-reviewed. So at least 6 have to be peer-reviewed and they need to be post-2000, published post-year 2000. If you have sources that need to break this, break these rules, then what you'll need to do for those 2 additional sources or 3 or however many you have is to have a specific sentence in the entry that says this 1994 piece is critical to my research because of this, or this non-scholarly article from the Wall Street Journal is critical because of this reason. So remember, 6 scholarly and post-2000 sources, and the additional 2 can have those exceptions, but the exceptions must be noted. You're also welcome to just use scholarly post-2000 sources. The third point on the grading highlight is a concise summary of the argument and not the topic for each source. This was sort of hit or miss. A lot of you got it right, but what it does is it tells us that you've read the source and you've understood the information. This issue is really important because I'm not interested in a source, I'm not interested in an entry that tells us, here's what the source talks about, or here's what the source explains, or here's what it discovers. I want very specifically, this source argues, or this source makes the case. So you're going to have to look for that argument. The fourth issue, insightful analysis and assessment for each source. Again, most of you did very well with this, but what are you going to use from the source? Why is it valuable to you? Are there any limitations to it? You're going to want to make sure that you have at least one sentence that says, this source will be valuable to my Unit 3 paper because of this, or I plan on using this argument to counterpoint my main issue in Unit 3. So you need to be very specific about the use value or the lack of value of the source. The fifth issue are clear language and few mechanical or grammatical errors. So you want to make sure, one thing that kept coming up was that you need to use the historical present tense when you're talking about specific research. So if you have researcher Smith, you wouldn't say something like Smith argued or Smith explained. You would say Smith argues. I noted a couple of issues. The biggest one is wordiness, and we have a screencast posted on wordiness if you want some help with that, and then some other minor issues, but for the most part it was wordiness and historical present tense. The final issue that you're graded on are the correct citations in your chosen style. So not only do you have to cite or tell us what kind of style you're using in the header, but you need to make sure you follow those guidelines. This means heading, hanging indents, alphabetizing, the correct use of dates, And just as a note, usually we don't need URLs anymore, so you can double check that information, but really pay attention to the formatting and the information you need for citations. Other than that, I will be getting more specific information back to you regarding the annotated bibliographies, but those are my general comments. Have a good day.